How dare he? How dare he want me? And how dare I not want him to not want me? Dash it all. I had to face the facts. It had really happened. Mr. Ambrose had kissed me passionately. I remembered it distinctly. I sank forward onto the bed. This was probably the time when I should have started to cry in shame, like a good little lady. Ella probably would have. Personally, I thought my head still hurt too much to make the effort, but I punched the Mr. Ambrose pillow a few more times for good measure. Blast, blast, blast. Was there no way it could not have happened? No way I could get out from under the weight of this horrible catastrophe, and could have imagined the whole thing? No, I distinctly remembered it. But then, I also remembered Napoleon playing chess in the powder room and a dance troupe of little yellow piggies. Maybe my memories of last night weren't quite as reliable as I had thought. A ray of hope broke through the darkness of despair around me. Please, I prayed, please let them be unreliable, please. Calm down, I told myself. You have to think about it logically. Easier said than done. Every time my mind strayed back to those few heated moments in the office, every kind of logic simply vaporized, leaving in its place a hot shiver that usurped power over my brain and tried to have my common sense executed by guillotine. Slowly, do it slowly. Think back to what happened first, before the kiss. Well, I got drunk. Royally, epically. The thrumming pain in my skull could attest to that. A smile tugged at the corners of my lips. Don't get me wrong, I didn't exactly enjoy the pain, but the realization that I had done something that proper young ladies definitely were not supposed to do gave me great satisfaction. Plus, while doing it, I had actually had fun. I could understand why men drank. There was a certain liberating effect to it, if you didn't mind yellow piggies too much. I might actually drink again sometime, though maybe not quite as much. And not the same rotgut they'd sold in that tavern. What next? Oh yes, the fight. My smile widened. Most of that was a blur, a red and black blur. On some level one knew that I hadn't been of much use, and that irked me a bit, but the thrill of the experience made up for it. Could you try and learn how to shoot a gun? Why not? Soon enough, at the end of the month, I would have money of my own. Money with which I could buy anything I wanted, even firearms. Or perhaps solid chocolate. My smile widened even more. What next? The drive to the office. I didn't remember much of that. And then, the shower. My smile disappeared, whisked off my face like chalk off a board. I had been in the shower, which had been much too cold, by the way, and Mr. Ambrose had come in, dressed in a red hunting costume, and he had. Heat flooded my cheeks, and I hurriedly buried my face in my blanket. Dash it. No, we couldn't have, could we? I mean, how could he even? That wasn't really possible, was it, that a man and a woman could? Like that, dear me, and after he, oh gosh, that was even more. No, he couldn't possibly, we could never have. No, I refused to believe it. It had to have been a dream. I would never have done anything like what I remembered us doing. Not with him, anyway. And even if I had been persuaded to engage in such illicit activities by some underhand method, Mr. Ambrose would never, ever wear a red hunting costume. He probably didn't own a stitch of colored clothing. This last point consoled me a great deal. A really great deal. I had actually been wondering whether he and I had, after all. No. Laughable. It hadn't happened. It couldn't have happened. But did that mean the kiss hadn't happened, either? Almost against my will, I reached up to touch my lips again. They didn't feel swollen. If anything, they felt warm. Surely, after touching the lips of that silent, cold master of Mammon, they would be cold as ice. But I remembered his lips on mine so fiercely. Could all that have been a dream? I thought of Mr. Ambrose, of his arctic manner towards me, his attempts at getting rid of me. It must have been a dream. How could this coldest of men, this block of ice, ever feel something for anybody? The warmth of the feeling would surely melt him away and just leave a puddle of meltwater for Mr. Stone or Kareem to clean up. I couldn't suppress a giggle at the mental image. Him, feel something, let alone feel something for me. Never. He couldn't want me for my money, either. I had none, and he had all he could ever wish for. Well, knowing him, he probably wished for a lot more still. I should have said he had all the money a sane person could ever wish for. Last but not least, the last possible motivation, him wanting me not because of some silly romantic feeling, or for pecuniary reasons, but because he had been overcome by irresistible desire at the sight of me, like the villain in A Penny Dreadful. I looked up from my blanket into the mirror that hung on the opposite wall. In the glass, I could see my reflection, round cheeks, a perky nose, wild tangles of brown hair and equally chocolate brown eyes, and skin that was turning tan from all the time I had spent outdoors. No, I was pretty sure that sight wouldn't instill irresistible desire to put their hands on me in anyone, except perhaps a hairdresser with a serious work ethic. I sighed. I was now quite sure the kiss hadn't happened. Well, that was cause for rejoicing, wasn't it? And I was rejoicing. I was definitely rejoicing a lot. I wasn't feeling the least bit sentimental or regretful that it all had turned out to be a hallucination. Now that I knew there had never ever happened anything between us, I could go back to the office and face Mr. Ambrose with my head held high, knowing that I had not succumbed to this supposed weakness of my sex that men propagated, suggesting that we needed men to take care of us. I was proud of myself. Once more, I knew I was an independent and rational human being and perfectly capable of taking care of myself. How wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. In the mirror on the opposite wall, I caught sight of my reflection. It was looking quite dejected, considering how wonderful everything was. Grabbing the Mr. Ambrose pillow, I hurled it at the wayward image. Smile, I commanded. Smile already, will you? Everything is spiffing. Just spiffing. Apparently, my reflection didn't quite agree. I grabbed another pillow, convinced it needed persuading, but then, suddenly, a bolt of pain shot through my head again. Oh. With a groan, I sank back onto the bed and used the pillow for its conventional purpose instead of as ammunition. The pain in my head receded only slowly. Blimey, was this normal after drinking? Surely not. If it were, not so many people would be doing it. I resolved to make the experiment to test my theory at the earliest opportunity. But not right now. Right now, I was trapped in this torture chamber facsimile of my bedroom, with no hope of escape. At least there still were no torturers in sight, but that didn't do me much good. My head felt as if it were full of red-hot coals, anyway. Maybe I would get lucky, and Ella would show up instead of the torturers. Lying buried under the blanket, I touched the sleeve of my nightgown. She must have put me in it, I realized, since I didn't remember changing into it last night. My heart swelled with love for my dear little sister. She had taken such good care of me. Surely, she wouldn't leave me here alone for long, in my terrible state of ill health. No, she would come and fight off any torturers who dared to approach me. From somewhere downstairs, screeching and yelling met my ears. I wondered whether I was starting to hallucinate again. Well, at least there were no yellow piggies this time. Why piggies? Why in God's name had I hallucinated little yellow sus domestica? I didn't even like piggies. I didn't even like any animals in general. They either peed on the carpet or bit you. And pigs. I only liked them in slices on a dish, which unfortunately we never got in this stingy household. Oh. My head. My eyes slid shut. Forget hot coals. This was an inferno. Is she in there? The commotion downstairs was getting louder, and was now joined by an exuberant voice I knew very well. Well, Leadfield, is she? Get out of my way, man. We have to see her. No, I don't care what hour it is, or what day or week or century for that matter. We have a victory to celebrate and are missing our general. Footsteps thundered up the stairs. More than one pair of them. A moment later, the door to my bedroom burst open. I squinted at the doorway, and there she stood, Eve Saunders, a huge grin plastered on her face. Over her shoulder I could see two other figures, one large, one slight. Patsy and Flora. Lily, Eve yelled in triumph. There you are. Oh, fabulous, I groaned. The torturers have finally arrived. Victory party. With a cry like a hunting hawk, Eve burst into the room and jumped onto my bed with a force that jarred my teeth and made little fireworks of agony explode in my aching skull. Lily, where have you been? We waited for you, hours after the event yesterday, and searched all over the place for you, and asked people, but they told us you left in a coach and we didn't know where you were, so we came back here, but then you didn't come home, and so we didn't know where you were again, and waited some more, but you still didn't come, so we decided to go home when it got dark, but we were so worried, and you must never do anything like that to us ever again, understand? We're all so terribly angry with you. She hugged me as if I were her favorite kitten and pressed a kiss on my forehead. Yes, I told her. I can see how terribly angry you are. Shut up. You're a genius. A bloody genius. Did you know that? Well, you probably did, but just in case you didn't, I'm going to tell you. You're a genius. She hugged me again. Over her shoulder, I could see the figure of our ancient butler, Leadfield, as he hobbled down the landing and respectfully stopped at the open door, not daring to enter a lady's room. Forgive me, miss, but these females simply forced their way into the house and insisted on seeing you. Should I? It's no problem, Leadfield, I assured him, while attempting to duck out of the way of another of Eve's hugs. They were more than my head could take right now. They're my friends. You remember Patsy, don't you? She came by last month to tea. The old butler opened his mouth to give a reply, but you had to be quicker than that to be part of the conversation while Eve was in the room. You're a genius, she burst out again. An absolute genius. You know, at first we were so angry with you after you left us standing in Green Park. Patsy was foaming at the mouth. She was. Yes, and I didn't know what to do, take her to be checked for rabies or go after you and try to bring you to your senses or something else. There were a million ideas flying around in my head at the same time. You know how it is. I can guess. But we had already made the signs, and we couldn't just not go through with it because you had the jitters. Very admirable, but Eve. I should have known any attempt to stop her was in vain. And then we showed up there, and you appeared up on the stage, all dressed in men's clothes, and gave a speech. A speech, and everybody listened, and cheered. Long live suffragism. Oh Lily. She hugged me again, but this time, I wasn't trying to fight her off. My attention was focused on Leadfield, who was still standing at the door. There were 2 red patches on his normally pallid face, and his eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Dressed in men's clothes, he gasped. Miss Lily, what in the Lord's name? Not in public, I groaned, hurriedly planting a hand over Eve's over-eager mouth to shut her up. It was charades. We were playing charades. Oh, I see, miss. The old chap's eyes retreated into their sockets, his frame visibly relaxing. He shook his head with all the bewilderment a sensible servant could muster at the upper class's strange habit of dressing up in all sorts of insane clothing for fun. Well, far be it from me, miss, to begrudge you and your young friends your amusement. Thank you, Leadfield. Do you require anything? Master's old hats and coats. His Indian turban, the old cook's apron. No, thank you, we're not planning on playing charades right now, Leadfield. I see, miss. Well, I'll leave you to it, then. That would be nice. The old servant turned with geological velocity. When he was almost facing the door, he tried to look back over his shoulder and almost toppled over in the process. By the way, miss, breakfast is almost ready. I shall begin serving in a few minutes, so you won't have long. I'll be down directly, I assured him. When Leadfield was outside and the door was closed, Eve couldn't hold it in any longer. VLT, RRRRMT. YRNTNNGDWNNTBRKFSTTSTDTTHSGSTLTMTS. I removed my hand from her mouth, and she grabbed me by the collar of my nightshirt. Lily, are you mad? You're not going down to breakfast to sit and eat those ghastly tomatoes your uncle puts on the table. You're staying here with us to celebrate, do you hear me? If you try to leave, I'll personally tie you up and gag you. Which would rather get in the way of my celebrating, I pointed out, squeezing my eyes shut and massaging my skull for a second. Ah, that felt good. My headache was much better already. Apparently, I had the right stomach for this sort of thing. I felt a tinge of pride. You needn't worry, by the way. When Leadfield says he'll serve immediately, that means he needs 10 minutes down the stairs, another 15 to reach the kitchen, and another 20 to get to the dining room table with all the plates, bowls and platters. We have plenty of time. So, we can celebrate now. Yes, sighing, I let myself fall back into bed. We can celebrate. Topping. 2 hands took mine in an iron grip and more or less wrenched me out of bed. 3 seconds later I was dancing around the room in my nightgown, trilling Eve as an over-energetic dance partner. We showed them. We showed them. We showed them. Well, technically it was you, but who cares? We showed them. We showed those chauvinist sons of bitch. Sons of bachelors. Huzzah. Huzzah. All I saw of the room were a few whirly impressions as Eve spun me around like a top. Occasionally, I would catch a glimpse of Flora's anxious, but happy, face, and Patsy's smile from where she stood in the background, leaning against the window, watching my impromptu dancing lesson. All this twirling around wasn't doing much good for my woozy head, though. I saw lights beginning to flicker at the edges of my vision. Eve, stop. We showed them, we showed them, we showed them, Eve, hello, Eve. We showed them, we showed them, we showed them, Eve, I said stop. With all the force I could muster, I dug my heels into the ground. Unfortunately, the force I could muster after a night out on a bender wasn't all that great. Eve rammed into me and we landed on the floor in a confused heap of cotton gowns, shawls, hats and shouts of, we showed them. You had to give Eve credit for being determined. Spitting out the end of a silk shawl with purple peonies printed on it, I sat up. What the dickens did you do that for? I challenged Eve, sitting on her derriere, her crinoline flattened underneath her. She grinned up at me broadly. We showed them, we showed them, we showed them. Apparently, she wasn't quite ready for sensible conversation yet. Scrambling to my feet, I turned to the other two. Flora gave me a shy smile, and Patsy just stood there, leaning against the wall beside the window, in the background, where she was normally least likely to be found. The smile on her face was small, but unmistakably there. Our eyes met. She came forward. I came forward. The rest of the room didn't exist anymore. We met in the middle, and she caught me up in hug so fierce it could have squashed an elephant into mincemeat. Lily, she said. PFFT, I said. I never should have doubted you. PLS is let GGG. Oh, sorry. Relaxing her grip, she stepped back, but I held onto her arms. Don't be, I gasped. I needed that. Oh Lily, if I hadn't known better, I would have said there were tears twinkling in the corners of Patsy's eyes. But I did know better. She was much too tough to cry, right? Lily, you mad, ingenious, wonderful girl. Why didn't you tell us what you were planning to do? Planned what? Why were they all so pleased with me? And then it struck me. She was convinced I had deliberately called off my participation in the demonstration, to go up on that stage and hold that speech for women's suffrage. Actually, I hadn't planned a single little thing in the last week the way it had turned out, but I couldn't tell her that. I could see in her fiery eyes that she had gotten it into her head that all had been part of my master plan. And to be honest, it would have been an ingenious plan, definitely worthy of me. It was risky, I said, with an apologetic shrug. Well, if I'd told you, you all would have felt obliged to take part, and there was a much greater chance of success if only one of us tried to get up there on the podium. In any case, as soon as one of us started her speech, all would be discovered and the others forced to leave along with her. So, a solo operation just made more sense. Eve's right. Patsy hugged me again, softer this time, but with undeniable warmth. You are a genius. I looked up into her broad face with wide, searching eyes. So, I'm forgiven, I asked, and wasn't able to keep the quiver totally out of my voice. This very question had been torturing my mind ever since my quarrel with my bestest friend. Not to have Patsy watching my back would be like not having a hat on my head, a cold and unprotected life. There's nothing to forgive, she told me. You're my best friend, and always will be. Nothing will ever change that. Hey, and what about me? Eve protested from floor level. You, Patsy told her, are my most annoying friend, and will always be. Nothing will ever change that, not even an excellent governess hired to educate and restrain you. Eve beamed at the compliment and clambered to her feet. Then she suddenly slapped her hand with her forehead. Oh, where did I leave my head this morning? We brought you something. A present. My face lit up, and it only hurt a little bit. The day was getting better already. I love presents. What is it? Maybe a piece of solid chocolate. No, not a present as such. Patsy waved at Flora, who retrieved something from behind her back, where she had stashed it along with her hands for the last few minutes. More a memento of sorts. A trophy of a victorious battle. Taking the object from Flora, she handed it to me. I stared down at the blank piece of cardboard in my hand, and confusion must have been evident on my face. Patsy smirked. Turn it over. I did, and there, in large, bold letters were the words, Votes for Women, Fellows. Or else, I didn't know what to say. But I didn't need to, really, because Eve did all the talking that was humanly possible. You didn't answer me before, she accused me, tapping on my cardboard. Where were you? We waited ages and ages and ages for you to return, and you never did. Where did you go? What did you do? We wanted to celebrate with you so badly, and to knock you on the head for doing something like that without telling us, but we couldn't. Where did you go? Were you abducted, held prisoner? My mind flashed back to the events to the previous night. A shiver shot down my spine, and I had to restrain myself from touching my lips again. No, neither of those. Well, what happened, then? Rickard Ambrose, that's what happened. Nothing, really. It just took me a frightfully long time to get away from those men. They had a lot of questions, none of which I answered. Then I went away. I shrugged. Eve gave me a disapproving look. Is that all? I expected, at least, that you were held captive in some dark dungeon miles under the city, where a group of conspirators determined to prevent the suffragist movement from rising up against the corrupt world of men tortured you into swearing off all unladylike behavior forevermore. No, sorry to disappoint. Not that I thought she would be disappointed if she knew the truth. I had something a lot better in store than an anti-suffragist conspiracy, a mystery surrounding stolen documents, drunken revels, a street fight in the East End, and a mind-blowing, toe-curling encounter with Rick. No, don't think about it. That part was a hallucination. It was all completely imaginary. And even if it wasn't, under no circumstances are you ever going to reveal that to Eve. Thank you so very much for this. Holding up the sign, I gave them all my most sincere smile, already edging towards the door. It was time to get away. Now, if that's all, I think it's about time for me to go down to breakfast. I started towards the stairs in earnest, but Eve was quicker. She blocked my way before I could make my escape. Oh no, it most certainly isn't all. You aren't getting away as easily as that. Do you know how many unanswered questions we still have? She indicated the other two, who surrounded me like a pack of jackals. One, or maybe two, I suggested hopefully. Crap, I had to get out of here before I started stumbling over my own lies. At least 1,000. For starters, who was that man? What man? I asked, hoping to hell they wouldn't notice my guilty ears burning. That man. Using both her hands, Eve grabbed her face and pulled a threateningly stony grimace. If there had been any doubt in my mind as to whom she meant before, it was gone now. The one everybody treated as if he were the Emperor of China, France and India put together. The one who gave that monstrous speech. He had a face like this. With her fingers, she pulled her mouth even farther, until it was almost nothing but a straight line. And he stared at you like he had icebergs for eyes, and would headbutt you if you didn't agree to every single little thing he said. Oh, him, I coughed. Yes, now that you mention it, I seem to remember a man like that. I don't think he looked like that, though, Flora dared to point out, doubtfully regarding Eve's facial contortions. I think he looked much more handsome. In fact, she added with a slight blush, I found him quite ravishing. A second later, she quailed under the punishing glare Patsy gave her. Shame on you, Flora Milton, she proclaimed sternly. That man is an enemy of the cause. No true suffragist would think him anything but an ugly monster. Flora's cheeks reddened, though not half as much as mine did. Blast, why was I blushing? I had nothing to be guilty about, did I? Well, did I? He was misogynistic, and arrogant, and cold. Except when he's kissing you. Luckily, Eve was still too firmly on the trail to notice anything wrong with my face. You still haven't told us who he is, she said, narrowing her eyes at me. And up on the platform, he introduced you as his secretary. How on earth did you pull that off? I opened my mouth, and no convenient lie came to mind. Of all the times my creative talents of creative truth-bending could have forsaken me, they chose now. When I most needed them. Bugger, nothing was reliable anymore, nowadays. Well, Patsy eyed me curiously. How did you manage it? I was standing with my back against the door, the three of them surrounding me, with no escape in sight. Not just Eve and Patsy were burning with curiosity. Even Flora had stopped blushing and was staring at me. She never stared at anyone. She thought it was rude, and that this was enough reason not to do it. But now she was staring at me. I wet my lips. Suddenly, there came a knock from the door behind me. Lil, are you in there? Ella, my angel, my darling sister, my lifesaver. I love you. Yes, I'm in here. Something pushed against my back. Why won't the door open? Because I'm standing against it. And why are you standing against the door? Good question. Have been asking myself the same thing. Like a fox between a regiment of redcoats, I slipped between Eve and Flora. Turning, I saw the door open. Ella stood in the doorway, looking from me to Patsy to Flora to Eve and then to me again. When her eyes fell on me, an expression of quiet gravity appeared on her face which I had seen only once before, when our neighbor's cat had gotten squashed by a coach and she had gone to deliver the news to the bereaved family. Patsy, Ella, Eve, she said without removing her gaze from me, would you mind leaving me and my sister alone for a few minutes? There is something we have to discuss in private. Sorry, Ella, not right now. We were here first, so we get to talk first. Patsy waved Ella off. Go off and play, we've got serious things to talk about. At this, Ella did not quail and shrink back, or hurry off with an apologetic, I'm sorry to disturb you. As I expected, she raised her chin and met Patsy's eyes. So have I, and what I have to say cannot wait. I have to discuss something of the gravest importance with my sister. You will please leave now. You can talk to her after I'm finished. Patsy's mouth dropped open. She was so surprised that she did something which she had never, ever done before, what she was told. Her feet started moving towards the door, while her eyes were fixed with utter disbelief on the little wisp of a blonde girl ordering her around. I see. All right, Ella, we'll see you outside, Lily. And with a last look at Ella, like a bulldog would look back at the chicken that has just chased him off his yard, she left the room, even Flora in tow. Closing the door behind them, Ella advanced towards me. She was smaller than me, but still she made me feel like a naughty child as she looked at me with those wide, blue, sincere eyes of hers. Her gaze could have made an archangel confess his secret sins. Lil, she said, shaking her head. I waited for more, but nothing was forthcoming. It seemed she expected me to know what she meant without actually saying it. Clairvoyance, however, was not yet among my many talents. Ella, I said, hoping to encourage some further explanation through reciprocal brevity. Lil, she said again, with another very graceful and sad shake of the head. Ella. This was getting a bit tedious. I wondered if I should broach a different subject or, for that matter, any subject. But then, it was taken out of my hands. Lil, please tell me nothing happened. Finally, a variation. Not that I understood what she meant, but still, it was progress. Fine, if you really want me to. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. I rubbed my head, which was still throbbing a bit. Now, can you please tell me when and where nothing was supposed to have happened? Lil. And while you're at it, tell me what kind of nothing happened that was supposed to have actually happened. I am a bit fogged, to be honest. Lil, don't joke about this. This is serious. Are you sure? I'm not, because I still don't have the foggiest idea what you're going on about. At last some life flooded into Ella's face. She stepped forward, grasped me by the arm and shook it. Lil, pull yourself together. You were with a man last night, weren't you? That man. Actually, I had been with several dozen men, about half of whom had been trying to kill me at one time or another. I didn't think it prudent to share this with my little sister, though. For some strange reason my aching head couldn't figure out, she seemed to think that the company of one man was already inexcusable. So I just said, yes, I was. What about it? Ella sucked in a breath. Oh God, Lil, do you know what could have happened last night? Or, dear merciful Lord, what if it actually did? Certainly I know, I mumbled. The pain wasn't getting better from the shaking. I could have caught my death in that powder room. Showers without boilers for hot water should be prohibited by law. Showers, Lil, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I still don't have a clue. You look at me as if you're not sure whether I should be confessing my sins in a month-long session, or thanking God on bending knees for escaping the jaws of hell. What's the matter with you? Ella bit her lip, hesitating. Whatever was biting her butt, it was something not easy for her to say. Did it happen last night? What it? You know, it. No, I don't know, it. I would be happy to make the acquaintance of it, and shake its hand, but only after you've explained to me what it is. Well, it is, it, you know, it. Thank you for that elucidating explanation, my dear little sister. Ella bit her lip again. Just tell me, what happened last night, please. I groaned. I'm not actually very sure, you know. My memory of last night is a little vague. Oh, again that lip biting. This apparently came as an unpleasant surprise to her. No wonder, when you were about to preach to somebody about the grievousness of his sins, it's preferable that the sinner still remembers them. It saves quite a lot of confusion. Well, when you came home last night, you were intoxicated. Do you remember that? I pressed my hand to the left side of my head. The ache was particularly acute there. Oh yes, I remember that. And I undressed you and put you to bed. Do you remember that, too? No, I think I might have been unconscious at the time. That sort of thing usually impedes my memory a little. Ella was immune to sarcasm. It was a very useful skill at times. And before that, my dear sister, do you remember anything of what passed before you returned home? It's all a little hazy, I said evasively. My quota of good lies had already been used up for the day. Plus, my head wasn't feeling its best today. You went to see him, didn't you? I blinked in confusion. Him who? You know perfectly well who I mean. You went to see him. The young man you have been seeing. Oh, him, right. I had given Ella some vague hints about Mr. Ambrose, hadn't I? She thought he was an admirer of mine. Sometimes it was really hard to keep track of one's own lies and fibs. Don't try to deny it, Ella told me, looking up at me with those big, blue, sincere eyes of hers. You went to see him, and he, oh Lily. Suddenly, her arms were around me and she was crushing me to her with all the force she was capable of. Luckily, she was no patsy. I can't bear it any longer. Please, simply tell me, Lil. You have to tell me. I won't judge you, I promise. I know you would never, before marriage. Not willingly. Just, please tell me. I mean, you, did the two of you? My eyes went wide. Abruptly, it began to dawn on the excuse for a mind stuffed into my aching head what exactly Ella was talking about. No, not ever, never, not in this lifetime or 1,000 others, or if I were a bee and he a spring flower full of yummy pollen. No. I shook my head so vigorously my brown hair bounced around like chocolate come to life, and I was in danger of headbutting Ella. I didn't care. The idea of Mr. Ambrose and me doing that, well, it was too horrible to think about. Really, are you sure about that? Asked a little voice at the back of my mind. I told it to shut up. Ella pushed me away a few inches, just enough to be able to look me in the face. Hers was shimmering with tears. Really, are you sure? She sounded eerily like that little voice in my head. I think I would have noticed, Ella. I wasn't that drunk. Oh, well, good. We stood there for a few moments, not knowing what to say. Then Ella suddenly pulled me against her and started sobbing again. Hey, I told you, my virtue is safely under lock and key. I know, Ella wailed. I'm crying from relief. Oh, you could have fooled me. Shut up. If you insist. Never do anything like that to me again. All right, next time I get drunk I'll be sure to be much more promiscuous. Oh Lil, shut up. I could count the number of times my little sister had told me to shut up during my lifetime on the fingers of one hand. Anne and Maria were doing it constantly, but Ella, if she was being bossy, I really must have upset her. Tentatively, I put my arms around her and pulled her close. What did he do to you? She sobbed. I told you, nothing, I soothed, patting her head. I don't mean that. I mean what else happened to you? What about the drink? What did that vile man make you consume? Ella, it's not like that. He didn't make me, Don't you dare defend him. Letting go of me, she stared up at me, her face wet with tears. You didn't see yourself last night. You didn't see what had happened to you. Oh, Lil. Ella, I know you love him. Oh really? But you can't defend what he has done. Don't intend to while you're glaring at me like that, trust me. I thought he was good for you, Lil, I thought he loved you, but a man who can do that to a girl is not worth a grain of feeling. Please, Lil, I know it must be painful, but try to rid yourself of those feelings. They will only hurt you. He will only hurt you. I felt almost like laughing. Poor Ella, if she only knew that all her concerns were for nothing. If she only knew that there was no special man in my life, certainly no man who could do anything to hurt me. An image of Mr. Ambrose's hard, chiseled face flashed across my inner vision. Suddenly, I didn't feel so much like laughing anymore. Please, Lil, won't you try to forget him? For me, please. She looked so forlorn, so torn apart by anxiety. What could I do? Of course. Tightening my arms, I pulled her towards me. For some reason, tears started to prick my eyes, too, and as our cheeks touched as we hugged, our tears mingled. I've learned my lesson. Don't you fear. Everything will be all right. Everything will be just fine. Oh, Lil. Shush. Gently, I held her in my arms and rocked her from side to side until her sobs had subsided. The rocking made my head ache, but seeing her like this made my heart ache, and that was far worse. Reaching around me, Ella gently stroked my hair. I'm sorry. I know I'm asking a lot of you. I know it can't be easy to give somebody up when you feel about them this strongly. Feel strongly. Did I feel strongly about Mr. Ambrose? I had, on more than one occasion, wanted to take him by that short, shiny black hair of his and slam his head into a wall. But those probably weren't the kinds of feelings to which Ella was referring. Yes, it will be very difficult to stay away from him, particularly since I want to see a paycheck from him at the end of the month, and he isn't going to cough it up if I'm not there, doing my job. Almost impossible, but I'll try, and I'll fail, but you don't need to know that. Oh Lily, thank you. Once more, she hugged me with a ferocity I would not have suspected could fit into her small, slender form. It may cause your heart terrible agony now, but you will see, it is for the best. She let go of me. Relief was shining out of her still watery eyes, but it was mixed with apprehension. You won't blame me for this, later, will you? She asked fearfully. You won't say I was terribly harsh and robbed you of your love. Please, Lil, I couldn't bear it if you thought that of me. I'm only trying to look out for you, and it's not as if I don't understand what you're going through. Her lips clamped shut, and her eyes widened in shock. I knew perfectly well whose name had almost escaped her mouth. Immediately, my headache was pushed to the back of my mind, my attention focused. Could it be that not all her tears were for my sake? Was she afraid of her approaching elopement? Had she found out when it was to take place? Dread flooded my chest, imagining my life without my little sister. It was a barren prospect. Oh, you don't need to worry about anything like that, I said with an airy wave. I know you were only giving me good advice. Stay away from men. And why not? They are all beasts, anyway, the whole lot of them. Ella's cheeks flushed. Some are not so bad. A few can be really nice. Probably in particular if the names began with EDM. But I didn't voice my thoughts out loud. Instead, I said, I won't ever start to hate you, Ella. How could I? You're my little sister, the one who has always been there when I needed someone to talk to, or to undress me because I was passed out drunk. Lil. You get my point. I could never, ever hate you. I gave her a final hug, and inspiration struck me. I will heed your advice, I continued. But you must promise me something in return. Curious, Ella looked up. What? You must promise me to learn from my example. Never do anything rash or improper where a man is concerned. Never. Promise me. What little color there was in Ella's ivory face drained away as if she'd seen a ghost. There was hesitation in her voice. I never would have thought it possible. Ella hesitating, where honor and propriety were at stake. Blast. Things with Edmund had to be even worse than I had suspected. Or better, from his perspective. But I wasn't very inclined to see things from his perspective at the moment. Promise me, I said, putting emphasis on both words. Lil. Behind us, there came an interrupting knock from the door. I wasn't remotely as pleased about this as I had been the last time. Yes, Ella called in an eager voice. Yes, enter. Slowly, the door opened, and Leadfield stuck his bald head into the room. Breakfast is served, Miss Ella, Miss Lily. Ella was out of the room before I could demand her word again. I remained alone in the room where she and I had slept, laughed, cried and simply spent time together for years and years. For the first time, I asked myself whether, soon, I would be alone here.